Shots fired. Sean Kirkpatrick, the former director of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, just torched the UFO research community in an opinion piece in Scientific American that reads the way Denzel Washington walks away from an exploding building. It's called, "Here's What I Learned as the U.S. Government's UFO Hunter." A forthcoming investigational report from an office of the Pentagon has found no evidence of aliens, only allegations circulated repeatedly by UFO claim advocates. Let's dig into this thing. It starts, Carl Sagan popularized the maxim that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. This advice should not be optional for policymakers. In today's world of misinformation, conspiracy-driven decision-making, and sensationalist-dominated governance, our capacity for rational, evidence-based critical thinking is eroding, with deleterious consequences for our ability to effectively deal with multiplying challenges of ever-increasing complexity. That's fair. I think we can all agree that critical thinking skills are important. We need more of them, and we should definitely pay closer attention to what's going on around us in a more analytical way. He goes on to say, as director of the Department of Defense's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, charged by Congress in 2022 to help bring science-based clarity and resolution to the long-standing mystery surrounding credible observations of unidentified anomalous phenomena, also known as UFOs, I experienced this erosion up close and personal. And it was one factor in my decision to step down from my position last December. After painstakingly assembling a team of highly talented and motivated personnel and working with them to develop a rational, systemic, and science-based strategy to investigate these phenomena, our efforts were ultimately overwhelmed by sensational but unsupported claims that ignored contradictory evidence, yet captured the attention of policymakers and the public, driving legislative battles and dominating the public narrative. And sensational but unsupported claims links to a NPR piece on U.S. recovered non-human biologics from UFO crash sites. This is what David Grush said in a hearing last year. I don't know if I would say it's unsupported. I mean, he's a whistleblower. He's protected by whistleblower statutes. The Intelligence Community Inspector General said his claims were credible and urgent. So I think that's plenty of support. I don't know that I would say it's an unsupported claim, but okay. But it gets better. The conspiracist story goes something like this. Now we're conspiracists. The U.S. has been hiding and attempting to reverse engineer as many as 12 UAP/UFOs from as early as the 1960s and perhaps earlier. This great cover-up and conspiracy failed to produce any salient results. I don't know how he would know that. It's the most classified project ever. But okay. And consequently, the effort was abandoned to some private sector defense contractors to continue the work. Like, we couldn't figure it out and we just tossed them a bone, when in fact, we know that the program was started hand in hand with private corporations from the very beginning. And if you take Colonel Corso at his word, and I do, in his claims that he made in the book The Day After Roswell, this program was started back in the 40s with private companies. So they've been a part of this the entire time. And the whole point of it was to keep this project out from under government oversight. If it's in private hands, then the government has no control over it. And that's the problem. Sometime later, the story continues, those private sector contractors wanted to bring the whole program back under U.S. government auspices. I don't know where he gets this. I've never heard this before. It makes no sense. Once you have crash disk materials in the hands of a private corporation, why would they want to give that back to the government? And then it's subject to all this oversight again. It makes more sense that they would want to keep it in private hands. Materials from a crash disk would be the most valuable materials ever. There'd be nothing more valuable than that. So why they would want to turn that back over to the government, I don't know. Apparently, he goes on, the CIA stopped this transfer back to the United States government. Well, the CIA is part of the government, so I don't understand how that works, but okay. All of this is without substantiating evidence, but alas, belief in a statement is directly proportional to the volume in which it is transmitted and the number of times it is repeated, not the actual facts. Well, that's interesting because this whole paragraph is just stuff he's pulling out of his ass. and making this kind of broad brush statement about what he thinks we think is actually going on. And I don't know where a lot of this stuff comes from, but that's what he's saying. A little further in, he says, no record exists of any president or living DOD or intelligence community leader knowing about this alleged program, nor any congressional committee having such knowledge. What about the Wilson memo? That exists. This should speak volumes if this case were following typical procedure, because it is inconceivable that a program of such import would not have ever have been briefed to the 50 to 100 people at the top of the United States government over the decades of its existence. If there was ever a program that wasn't typical, it would be this one. So it is totally believable that they would not brief a bunch of people in the United States government. This is the most protected secret program of all time. He's painting it this way to make it seem ridiculous and unbelievable. And he's doing a good job, but that's what he's doing. So he goes on to say that the AARO team is committed to following the data wherever it leads, and that's what they're going to continue to do. And then he closes it out. I'll put a link to the article in the show notes so that you can read the whole thing when you have some time. But spoiler alert, it's petty, very petty and vindictive, and it reads like kind of a angry farewell to the UFO community. And I think we're all just kind of happy to wash our hands from this thing and walk away. But it's unfortunate that it had to be this way. It's unnecessary. He didn't have to torch the community so hard. I mean, let's be honest. It's the most exciting story of all time. This is the biggest event in human history, and we all want answers, right? We all want answers, and we want those answers to be based in reason, science, fact. We want to understand what's going on and be able to apply it in our day-to-day lives in a way that makes sense. There's no question that we're all on the same page here, but his office was never set up to get those answers. It wasn't. We put pressure on Congress to get answers. They set up the AARO office to go get those answers, but AARO is a part of the Department of Defense. It's owned by the Defense Department. So they were never going to have full access to everything that they needed to see to get the answers they needed. Those answers were going to come from the Schumer Amendment. That was the whole point of the Schumer Amendment. That's why it had subpoena power and eminent domain clauses written into the bill. And that's why those clauses were stripped out, right? Like if there's no there, if there's nothing happening, nothing to see here, then why was the Schumer Amendment such a big deal? It shouldn't have been a big deal at all. If there's nothing there, if this is all just made up bullshit, then that amendment should have sailed through and they should have been able to go into these facilities and look and see that there's no there. But that's not what happened. So we know there's something going on because where there's smoke, there's fire. But Kirkpatrick is clearly upset that he was set up to fail. And now he's publicly the owner of this kind of weird failure in this odd moment in this whole big saga as it unfolds. I want to know what you think. Is he right? Is he wrong? Is he completely off the mark? Do you even care? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and share this video. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing. It's a heavy lift to build this channel, and I work hard on it every week. I can use all the help I can get. I'd love to have you join me as a part of Team Night Shift. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And until then, keep looking up.